everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Momentum Live. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are in the world today. My name's Michael Hardinge, and I wanted to give a huge thank you to all of our subscribers on YouTube. Over the weekend, we hit 6,000 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible, and we can't thank you enough for joining us with us on this journey. I think only about a year ago, we had probably a couple of hundred subscribers, so the fact that we're now at 6,000 is incredibly humbling, and we're very grateful for it. So thank you all so much for joining us, and if you did subscribe wanting some more LGBT content after you subscribe to see Mars, definitely do stick around. We have something in the works. We just can't film it yet due to some of the restrictions we're under for COVID reasons, but we are working on it and we will get some content to you as soon as possible. And if you're watching on Facebook, definitely go subscribe to our YouTube as well. There's lots of good content on there as well, which you can watch in much better quality than you would versus watching something on Facebook. But today we're talking about how exciting and how many amazing people we've had on the last 10 episodes of Momentum Live. We've really enjoyed this program, but like a lot of people, we know you're busy. We know you don't have time to probably watch every single week. So today is all about showing you some of the best bits that we've found from the show so far. So let's get straight into it. First of all, I wanted to show you a clip from last week's guest, who we had was... Oh, that was a horrible introduction. Let me try that one again. We're going to be chatting about Peter Hitchener, who joined us last week. Now, Peter Hitchener is from 9 News Melbourne, and he joined us to talk about a lot of things from his career to what the news has been like this year to sort of deliver. But he had some really interesting things to say and some uplifting stuff in a year that has pretty much just been primarily bad news. But let's hear some of the good news he's been able to deliver. Matt wants to know, what has been your most memorable moment in presenting the news over the years?
Oh, Matt, look, there have been so many. There's one, I mean, look, if we're talking about serious stories, we've covered some of those already today. And they're stories you'll never really forget, you know, the elections and drama and catastrophe sometimes. But there's also nice stories. There was one, there was a gorilla birth at the zoo a few years ago, and they trained the gorilla, the pregnant gorilla, to present her stomach to the zookeeper so that the vets could just check that the baby was forming the right way, and that the birth was going to go ahead.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And so they invited me along, and at the given time, into the enclosure, back of the enclosure where the gorillas live. They asked her to come forward to the little window, to the opening, and I was actually able to look into her face. Oh, it was amazing. Look into the face of this sentient being, and actually they said, "Go on, you can touch her tummy," which I did just briefly. And
it's amazing.
I mean, it's one of those things, and I thought, I can't think of any other job apart from being a zookeeper where I actually get to do something amazing like this. And it's an experience I'll never forget. It was quite wonderful.
Peter had a lot of really good stories about his career, and especially what it's been like for him as well this year, sort of presenting what has been a lot of very full-on news to the Australian public. So if you want to hear more from that, definitely check out the comments section. We're going to post links to go watch all of these episodes on our Facebook comments, or if you're already on the YouTube version, just jump on our channel icon and you can see all of the Momentum Live episodes we've had so far. Next up, we're going to hear from Kelsey Adelaide, who is the actor of Mast and also is an actor in Flunk, talking about what the experience was like filming that, and that film as well now has over 1.3 million views on our YouTube. How does it feel to be in a film that, you know, brings light to such a proud, but in a lot of ways a very disenfranchised community?
I think the most important thing about, like, that almost sets this film apart from other ones that you can find on YouTube about the trans experience is the idea of the happy ending. I think there's, you know, in a lot of the other ones that I've watched, there's sometimes this, and especially in like big films, there's this really sad, like, kind of downward spiral of the story to all of them. And the importance of this one having, you know, there is the kind of climactic event, and there is talks of self-harm and suicide and all the things that young trans people face when they're dealing with hardships. It's all right in the end, you know?
Yeah.
Everything's okay, and you know it will be. Like, we don't need to see his parents accepting him, we just know from the filmmaking in general. But it's incredibly important to bring a positive storyline, in my opinion, to these kind of issues, because life is hard, and if you're constantly seeing yourself in a really negative light, it can be really, really hard to feel, like what the point is in continuing. Yeah. So seeing that there is always a point and that there's always hope is very powerful, and this film does it quite well.
If you do want to see the film that Kelsey's referring to there, which is Mars, definitely check out our YouTube channel. It's on there. And you can also check out the interview with Kelsey, which goes into a lot of detail about heaps of different stuff. So definitely go check that one out. We also recently had Adrian Jeffs, a mobile filmmaker, join us, who's a local Hillsville resident here with us. And he spoke a lot about the mobile filmmaking community. And I have a little clip here that talks about why mobile filmmaking is such a great option for a lot of people that doesn't have a huge barrier of entry when it comes to just wanting to make stuff. So we might take a couple of audience questions. We've got Mike Emmett joining us, who says, hey, Adrian and Michael, and wants to know, how important has the community of other filmmakers been to you?
That's a great question. The one thing I've found with mobile filmmaking is that some people hold on to knowledge and don't want to share it. The mobile community is just amazing, sharing. Like I wouldn't have got to where I am if it wasn't for the community and how it shares all the information to make good choices, to tell better stories. There's communities like Filmbreaker on Facebook, Mina, a lot of the film festivals have got some great YouTube channels like Mobile Motion, have just got absolute ton of information and tips and tricks that you couldn't get anywhere else, and that's why I love it. And especially from my point of view, as far as telling the stories that I have, they just I said to them last year that it's the girls at SC3 and Jason, that I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, and it's just I just love the mobile filmmaking community.
Adrian spoke a lot about that, and I think it's a really good example of these days. You can find a lot of information online about how to do filmmaking, but not even in an online sense. There's a lot more opportunities for young filmmakers at the moment, and that kind of leads into the next excerpt we have. So we recently teamed up with Maroondah City Council Youth Services to create a short film called We Know Your Name But Not Your Story, where we spoke to 10 different diverse young people from around the Maroondah area and sort of told their stories and sort of discuss the things that are really important to them and the change that they want to see in the world. And we basically just mentored young people through this entire process. And Annette from Maroondah City Council now is quickly going to tell us how important it is to be able to let young people take control of the work and the content that they are making for other young people. Why is it important to tell the stories of young people, but also give them the platform to share what's important to them?
Yeah. We have talked about youth participation, but I think particularly looking at the stories of young people, and I guess one of the things we wanted to do with this film was to get diverse stories and to get stories from young people who maybe have even less of an opportunity to talk about their story and their lives, is just that it's powerful for everyone involved. So the person telling their story, they often reflect about how empowering that feels to be able to actually put that out there and for people to really hear them and understand them. And then from an audience perspective, I think, to be able to connect well with those stories, because there are going to be commonalities there. So I think, the power of young people being able to actually tell those stories is just, I don't know, one of the sessions that we had, the training sessions for our story collectors, was about the power of storytelling and the actual physiological changes that happen in your brain when you hear a story. And I wish I could summarize, but I can't. But I think, there's just something in that. It just makes you think about things in a different way.
Totally.
That's going to be more impactful if it's coming from the actual person that it happened to, as opposed to someone even secondhand telling that story.
We also worked on another project last year where we let young people sort of take the wheel. We created 3 family violence prevention commercials for the city of Greater Dandenong for a white ribbon campaign that they were running. And recently on the show, we had Lockie McEwen, who is our Momentum content producer and director of photography, join us to sort of break down that in a bit of a cinematography breakdown for those videos. So if you are interested in cinematography, definitely go check that one out. But here's Lockie sort of just explaining a little bit about the importance of what sort of thought process goes into making a story compelling through cinematography. Adrian wants to know, what are the important keys to creating the visual story? Is it lighting, camera movement, or the color grade, or is the story dependent?
Ooh, I would have to just say it's definitely all of them. I think
Yeah.
story is key. I think you start with story and then you build around that. Every little piece has to work backwards towards the story and sort of help build that strong piece. I like myself, I do a lot of writing for Momentum. I do a lot of filming for Momentum. So I definitely always start with story, and just because I do a lot of filming, I usually go straight into the visuals after that.
Yeah.
But as a person who really enjoys the end product, I know that lighting and sound are both things that really play a strong part in the story itself. And usually the better they can all be together, the better the entire thing is at the end. So as far as like key pieces, honestly, I don't think there's one more than the other. Maybe just story, to be honest, to start with, and then everything else just has to come directly after that.
Totally, for sure. And it is a bit of everything in a way too, like, because we have all those tools available to us, whether it be lighting or camera or story, and we use everything to really, get the final product there. So there's no one main contributing factor, but I think the story and the intention behind what we're trying to do is the main driver, because if we didn't have a plan or a story or an intention for these videos, then it doesn't matter how pretty they look or how well they produce. There's no substance to them. Wow, couldn't agree with you more, Michael. Look, I think that's it feels like I'm weird agreeing with myself, but that's a really good that's a really good episode in general, sort of learn more about cinematography and filmmaking. So if you do want to learn more about that, definitely check that episode out. And we're also going to start doing more education and video breakdown to some of our past projects in the coming weeks as well. So definitely stick around for those. But I guess video in general in 2020 has been so important, and we were also joined very close to the beginning of Momentum Live by Lucy Thomas from Project ROCKIT. And Lucy was talking about how they've recently basically moved all of their sessions they normally run in schools across the country to sort of tackle bullying and cyberbullying amongst young people to an online format using webinars. And Lucy kind of spoke a little bit about the importance that video plays as a business owner. How important do you think video is as a leader and a business owner?
Yeah, look, I didn't know, never knew how important it would be. And with the benefit of hindsight, it's easy to reflect, oh, this is so important. But I probably didn't know how important it would grow to be in 2020. During the break between lockdown number 1 and now this second lockdown in Melbourne, I had the opportunity to go out to a school and do a talk. And it was really interesting because they were still practicing social distancing despite the fact that they were in school. And I delivered this for a whole year level of Year 11 students, with 40 of them in the auditorium. The rest of the talk was live streamed out through Zoom to students in other classrooms. And it just highlighted to me, even when I was delivering a talk live, it was still really delivered via video. And so I think into the this, in order to get any kind of message out there, I think we are really going to be relying on digital and specifically video to be able to bring each other into the same room. I think it's going to be the number one mechanism that we have up in our toolkit. So yeah, totally.
So I think that's also a really good point there. Video, especially in places like Melbourne and places that are going to have tighter restrictions for a longer period of time, definitely need to sort of utilize the power of video to sort of get content out there and get the messages out there as well. Because we're even getting inquiries for projects that are planning to host online events, mid next year. So I think people are sort of realizing that we're kind of, this is going to be a marathon and not a sprint. So if you do have any questions or want to reach out to us to talk about how you can make your event or your project or your content sort of shine through video, definitely reach out, momentumstudios.com.au. Quick little plug, definitely come have a chat to us. We'd be more than happy to discuss what would work best for you in your situation. But also with that, I kind of, it does sort of raise the fact that mental health has definitely taken a big toll on everyone because it has taken so long to sort of get back to the things that we love doing, especially here in Melbourne. And we recently had an episode where we were joined by a lot of our friends and collaborators here at Momentum, where we talked about what you can do to sort of stay healthy and stay creative in isolation. And here's one of our collaborators, Matt Smith, talking about what he does to sort of look after himself.
A lot of people are feeling like there's just nothing that they can do. And there's always stuff that you can do, but you can also let yourself just be, At the moment, everyone's kind of feeling alone and all that kind of stuff. So, there's nothing wrong with feeling out of place or anything like that. You gotta do what you can, and there's no one should be able to judge you for not doing anything. There's nothing wrong with just going, not today. You gotta allow yourself sometimes to just, watch a movie, play a video game, something like that. That's something that I've always struggled with, is going, you know what, I'm going to sit down and relax, which I hate doing, and it feels really unproductive. And then the next day I'm like, why didn't I, go and clean up? Why didn't I go and work on this? Why didn't I do that test that I was thinking about? But sometimes you just got to let yourself be a little bit lazy and go, today I'm going to watch a couple of movies, I'm going to play some video games, and tomorrow I will do this, and actually try and stick to it. And that can be your goal. If you come out of this and you've been really productive and you've learned stuff, that's great. If you come out of this and you're still sane, that's great. You don't want to lose yourself in this. So, do whatever makes you happy and makes it so you can get through the day.
That episode had so many great little gold nuggets about how to look after yourself at the moment. So if you do want to know more about that, definitely go check that one out. I think there was some really frank and honest advice from a lot of creatives from a lot of different areas. Matt Smith, for example, is an incredible prop maker and VFX artist, but we have actors, we have photographers, we have musicians join us in that one. So it's a great little episode to sort of check out if you're feeling like you are struggling with being creative or even just looking after yourself as a creative at the moment. So definitely go check that one out. We also recently had someone who I only came across a couple of months ago, someone who is a very young person who has a lot of ambitions, Leonardo Puglisi, who runs a YouTube channel and now a news service called 6 News Australia. And Leo was a really interesting person to talk to, and we kind of spent a lot of time discussing what it's like for a 12-year-old to sort of have such a strong passion and interest in journalism. For those that maybe don't know you or haven't heard about 6 News before, I've only heard about you in recent months, but maybe just take us back into the beginning. Where did you develop this interest and passion for news and journalism?
I've, sort of wanted to be in TV and news for as long as I can remember. I think there's home video of me watching the news, and Dad comes around with the camera, and I try to get him to move out of the way because I'm trying to watch the news. I'll find that video eventually. But I've always loved making movies, doing the editing, the filming, presenting. I always like writing the news script, school newspaper even. And it sort of all came together in about March 2019, where, because I do all the editing, I do all the writing, and it all came together, and it was just doing small local news, just, the classic council stories and all that. And then eventually this year, after I was on the road during the bushfires in Albury and Canberra, which was a road trip that went horribly wrong, I sort of moved into a sort of a national format, and we're now covering stories not just here in Australia but around the world. And it's grown. It's now not longer just me. Now, not longer just me. It's a whole team of passionate young journalists, all of us under 18, and all of us wanting to get into media. And this is where we're able to shine. We're able to do our own stories, and it's grown immensely. And I can't thank not only them but also my parents and my family for their support, because it would not be possible, I can tell you that, without them.
Leo's chat was such an interesting one that I had, and I think it's a fantastic example of a young person chasing their dreams. So if you do want to learn more about that or learn more about Six News as well, definitely go check out the interview with Leo. And to wrap up, we also have, excuse me, we have, oh, wow. I'm just going to quickly take a sip of water, 1 sec. So to wrap up, we also have a clip from Ryan Chamley, the creator and director of Rostered On, which is now streaming on Netflix in New Zealand and Australia, along with the behind-the-scenes featurette, which I had the pleasure of directing, of Rostered On, which is also available on Netflix too, so definitely go check that out. But anyone that knows Rostered On or the story of Rostered On will understand that was done on a really low budget, but it pushes way above its weight. So here's Ryan sort of talking about how you can make a budget go a long way. How do you make a small budget go a long way?
Favors. So this is quite tricky. So, it's basically finding people that are, so if we're talking about crew, it's finding people that are in the same position as you that need the product just as much as they need to be paid. So, if you're starting out, get a DP that's starting out and a producer and an AD and all these people that want to make something that all need the product to show that they can make something, because then that's your kind of currency. The product is the currency. So if you make something awesome, it's going to get you more work. So if you're starting out, don't try and get like the biggest DP in the world, because your levels aren't aligned. You need to surround yourself with people on your level that inspire you, that challenge you, with the one goal in mind of creating this thing. Same as actors, try and get actors that need that win, need something good, and you can all ride it together. That's what we did with Rostered On. We all needed something that was, we were all kind of up and coming and had a bit of experience here and there, but we all needed Rostered On a lot of the actors just needed something for their reel. It didn't even matter if it was good or not. It's just lucky that it sort of blew up. But we were all in the same spot where we were like, okay, we can all put into this. We all just want to create it. And then, the budget goes a lot further because, the currency is more about the product. And if you can just cover the hard costs, and covering the hard costs is a process in itself, and it's asking for stuff for free. So season 1 of Rostered On, we had the location for free, which is an empty shop. We got all the microwaves and TVs and stuff for free. Like Stu and I drove around to people's houses collecting broken TVs. So, the shelving, we got sponsored by a shelving company, OME, just because we said we're doing a show. So it's asking people for favors, but you've got to do the legwork. So, it's not like you can ask, art departments from Hollywood movies, hey, can you do this for free? No, you've got to go and pick up all the stuff. You've got to set it up. You've got to do all the legwork. So you've got to ask the question, free location for credits and stuff like that. So you can stretch a small budget far as long as everybody is under the understanding that you're creating something to further all of your careers. It's not just everyone's not just taking pay cuts just for the director's vision or the writer's vision, or, it's got to be a real team effort. And then you'll be surprised how far you can stretch a small budget.
If you do want to learn more about how someone from a little production company in a small town in Melbourne, Australia, did manage to get their content go viral, get hundreds of millions of views, get picked up from network television to Netflix, definitely check out Ryan's episode. I think it's such a fantastic success story, and it really goes into some great detail about the advice that he can give to other young filmmakers and just filmmakers in general as well. So definitely check that out. But that is just a handful of some of the many things we've spoken about on the show recently. And if you do have any ideas about some of the guests that you would like to see on the show, let us know. We'd love to see what you guys want and really sort of tailor the content to what our audience is wanting to see. So if you have any ideas, whether it be guest episodes, whether it be education, or even just, anything really, let us know. We'd love to hear about it. And all thank you so much for your continued support of the show. We'll be back the same time, same place next week. But until then, stay safe, and we'll catch you next time on Momentum Live.